I actually moved to New York City in 1978 to make it as an actor. For the next 29 years, I worked as a waiter. That's a lot longer than is considered understandable. I always worked in a very casual restaurant, which suited me. I could never work upscale or fine dining, where you have to be with it. You have to know things. I know two things about wine. We have it or we don't. I had a customer once. He said to me, "What's the difference between the Cabernet and the Côte du Rhône?" I said, $1. I remember one time I was waiting on 40 people. Know what it's like to wait on 40 people? First of all, you're afraid to ask if somebody needs something. Because somebody does. I mean, literally after a while, this is how I'm walking up to the table. Is everything all right? Good. I walked by the table once, a guy yelled out, "Waiter." I wasn't in the mood. I'll show you what I did. Sir, when I walk by, you just yell out, "Waiter," okay? Watch this.
Waiter.
Customer. I was at work one day. Guy walks in, starts doing this, flagging me down. As he's being led to the table, I walked over, he says to me, "I'm in a hurry." I said, "So go." I was waiting on a man and a woman. He ordered. Then it was her turn. Everything looks so good. And you say you're out of the swordfish. Well, I had chicken for lunch. I don't want heavy. This looks good, but I can't have peppers. I mean, I can, but I shouldn't. What are you getting? No. Okay. All right. Okay. I'll tell you what. I'll take... Give me... Let me have... between the duck and the lamb. Which would you get? The duck, huh? Not the lamb. Meanwhile, while she's deciding, the guy tries to occupy me. He says to me, "So, what do you do when you're not here?" I said, "I have other tables." Now, being a waiter for a long time is very humbling. But I could live with myself if I didn't have a family, because that's where the pressure comes from. You know what it's like when you're not successful and your mother tells you about somebody who is? Did you know that Jack's son just sold his business for $90 million? See, I didn't know that. But I'm glad she told me, because otherwise I wouldn't feel like shit. I mean, I hear success stories that are mind-boggling. This one's the top headache doctor in the world. This one's building a home in Florida, 125,000 square feet. Can you imagine what she tells her friends about me? If all goes well, I think Brad is going to buy a bookcase. I was on a bus the other day. Woman sitting behind me having a cell phone conversation, one of these upbeat, perky, living her life at my expense cell phone conversations. You know, Michael's taking me to Barbados. I love my ring. Oh, guess what? We saw a house in the Hamptons we both like. You'll have to come out. So I took out my cell phone. I started showcasing my life. I just borrowed $5 from a busboy. I haven't had a girlfriend since Watergate. Oh, guess what? For my summer vacation, I put my fan on high. My doctor tells me that my cholesterol is much too high. That's because I eat glazed donuts for breakfast. Pint of ice cream 4 nights a week. If I didn't exercise as much as I do, I'd be huge. And I exercise not so much because I love to exercise. I exercise because I don't want to look the way I feel. So my doctor says to me, he says, you don't have to give up the ice cream. Eat it every once in a while. I don't want to eat it every once in a while. It doesn't appeal to me every once in a while. It appeals to me all the time. If I want something every once in a while, I'll eat fruit. I can eat fruit once a month. I have no problem holding out. Been 22 years since I've had a craving for an apple. I mean, what is there, I ask you, to satisfy my need for comfort that is good for you? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And don't tell me there is. Don't give me this. Oh, try Molly's non-fat frozen vanilla ice cream substitute. It's delicious. It's delicious if you compare it to hay. I was a very insecure kid, especially about my appearance. My skin was constantly breaking out, which for me was anguish. Always wanted to be taller. Always hated my hair. This is the happiest I've ever been with my hair. I remember once when I was a kid, I let my hair grow out. Ended up with this huge afro with sort of a Judaic influence. And I'll never forget, with this new look, I go down to Florida to visit my family. I knew from the moment that my mother laid eyes on me that my hairdo was going to interfere with her weekend. So that night I'm sitting in the living room watching television. She sits down next to me with a plate of pickled herring. This herring is the best. Your father's out like a light. You like your hair the way it is? I'm going to let you in on something. I'm available. I have been single for so many years. I go out on a date now, it's inconvenient. I mean, I was on a date recently. I'm thinking if not for her, I could be home doing nothing. And don't get the wrong idea. I haven't lost my passion for women, not at all. I saw a woman on a subway the other day. She was so gorgeous, I walked up to her and told her I had a great time. I mean, there are so many women over the years I've wanted to approach. I didn't. Why? Because I assumed they'd say no. I once asked a woman out and she said yes. I said to her, maybe you didn't hear the question. Now my mother lives in Boca Raton. I'm down there visiting. I'm sitting in the living room watching television. She's in her room reading. This drifted in from the other room. Brad, Jane Bendel's son Mark just got a hair transplant. She says it looks tremendous. You can't even tell whatever it costs. If it's $2,000, $2,500, I'd be more than happy to pay for it. Now, I would love a full head of hair. You have no idea. But I want to grow it. I don't want it appearing out of the blue. I don't think hair is something that should prompt the question, where'd you get it? She calls me up, leaves a message on my machine. This is verbatim. Help me make a decision, my son, who to take to Bootsy's party. My Friday night date with the pacemaker, my Wednesday night date who dances but has arrested prostate cancer, or a man I haven't met who's 6'1", plays tennis, but has a steel plate in his back. So I called her up. I said, when's the party? She said, 2 weeks. I said, well, why don't you go with the one who's still living? But make no mistake about it, I love my mother, but she has been an endless source of material. In fact, I told her that. She says to me, what are you going to do when I'm gone? I said, I'm going to sell your house. My father passed away in 1993. So he never saw me do anything but struggle. In fact, one of the hardest things for me to do was to ask my father for money. I'd call him up at work. He'd get on the phone. Brad Zimmerman, how the hell are you? Towards the end of the call. You need anything? I could use a little spit, Pop. How much? 150. I'll send you a little more. I'll send it out today. Thanks, Pop. You kidding me? My pleasure. Geez, I hope you're keeping a record there, what you owe me. It's got to be up over $1 million by now. It's up there, Pop. You don't owe me anything, son. All I want from my children is respect, and you'll respect me. I've also had the good fortune of working with some very famous comedians. Whenever I work with Joan Rivers, she always introduces me to the audience as the best comic in his price range. The first time that I ever opened for Brad Garrett from Everybody Loves Raymond fame, he had just started work on a new show called Till Death. I walked out onto the stage of the Tropicana in Atlantic City. I said, it is a pleasure to be here tonight with Brad Garrett. My name is also Brad. That's pretty much all we have in common. One bread is famous, the other bread is not. One bread is rich, the other bread is not. One bread has a big penis, and the other bread has a new sitcom. Then there was George Carlin. The first time I ever opened for George, right before the show, he approached me. He said, I can only watch 10 minutes of your act. I have to go over my notes. I'm working on a new HBO show. So I start my set. I'm doing 30 minutes. He's off on the side of the stage. I can hear him laughing. Even better than that, he never left. Watched my whole set. Afterwards, we're backstage. He says to me, and I quote, "Fucking great." Which, of course, prompted this big hug, after which I said, I gotta go call my mother. I'm a very, very lucky man. I have been given a second chance. You see, when I was a kid, I had talent, but I had no desire to get the most out of it. And now, that's what I'm all about. Somebody once said, money does not bring happiness. The pursuit of excellence does. And certainly, I have proved that to myself.